Hello and welcome to the Brave Hearts, Bold Minds podcast, Growing Fine Young Men. I'm Lee Hatcher. Thanks for joining me on this journey into how to help the boys of today grow into the fine young men of tomorrow. Each week I'll be interviewing an educator from the Scots College in Sydney to uncover very practical tools with which parents of school-age boys can engage, encourage and challenge their sons for wisdom and compassion. So let's ring the bell and meet our guest for this week's podcast. With me today is Phil Atkinson, a man after my own heart, a passionate fisherman who's also senior mathematics teacher and housemaster of Royal at the Scots College, and his title is Boys Need Balance. Phil, welcome.
Thanks, Lee.
Great to meet you. Phil, having swapped secret fishing spots off air, tell me, how do you connect this passion of yours with a boy's need for balance?
Look, Lee, the idea of balance comes from my fishing. I tend to find that if I get overly busy, I want to relax. Like yourself, I do go fishing just to basically look at the ocean, throw a lure, wet a bait, and just get my mind somewhere else. I find fishing is like a recharging experience for myself.
Yes.
Living here at the school, I'll go down to the harbour, fish for kingies off the rocks down at Nielsen Park. That's probably my sneaky spot. But yeah. So
you've blown it.
I've blown my sneaky
already.
spot.
Yeah, that's right.
Nielsen Park, there you go.
I've been taking notes.
Yeah.
So away from the water,
Yep.
in your work, your entire career has been as a mathematics teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But you've recognised that maths, or for that matter any subject, is one of a range of activities and interests for boys.
Absolutely. Like, boys need to be challenged in multiple areas, but they also, I believe, need a passion in one area. And that area for me has always been fishing. So I'm passionate about other things at various levels, like rugby. I coach rugby. I'm passionate about maths. I'm passionate about being a housemaster, but I'm also passionate about fishing. And so I find that if you give boys a passion, it's just something that they can put their mind to away from, sport, school, all the different competing needs they have at a school like Scots.
Can you put into words what the balance does for you?
It recharges my batteries,
Yeah, okay.
100%. It also gives me ideas, like just in terms of like fishing tackle. I tend to be very, very good at using one reel for a variety of purposes.
Yep, good. That's cheap.
And it's cheap.
Yeah.
But I also like to target a species,
Yeah.
but I'm very versatile with my gear. And that's something I tell the boys in class. If you can, find some techniques in maths that work, and then you can apply those techniques to a range of topic areas, even to other areas within the school, such as rugby. Rugby at Scots is very technical nowadays.
Yes.
And so some of the learning strategies the boys would learn in their classrooms, they can take to rugby training to try and get their head around the X's and O's. So there's a lot of crossover in my mind between fishing. And look, it doesn't have to be fishing.
No,
it could be kite
anything,
flying.
yes.
It could
Yeah.
be, whatever it is that you like to do. Surfing.
Yep.
Is another one a lot of boys use. But I like fishing because it's got a lot of gadgetry.
Yes.
A lot of
Endless gadgetry.
endless
Phil.
gadgetry. eBay's a really good place
Yeah.
if you want to get the
Noticed that,
gadgetry cheap.
yes.
But yeah. So.
Yeah, I reckon there's genius in this whole kind of principle. Though there's probably never been a time like this where there are so many competing demands on everyone's time, including boys, so little kind of space. That's the cry of today. And that's especially a challenge for gifted students, isn't it?
Absolutely. Scots is a school that creates excellence in boys, but you can't be excellent at everything.
Yes.
And the gifted boys have this pressure, I guess, put on them that they've got to be gifted and talented. Gifted's what they've got, but talented is actually where you actually produce the giftedness in some tangible way, or you apply it to a subject area. And that becomes quite a challenge because those boys are expected to deliver across a whole wide range of curriculum areas. So what they need, in my opinion, is a couple of things that they can just go to and apply across areas that just simplifies the process for them. Okay. And the analogy I've always used is fishing. I'm targeting a species, like I'd go down to the harbour. If I was targeting luderick, I'd use weed.
Yep.
If I was targeting kingfish, I'd use squid. If I was targeting bream, I'd use a natural bait like chicken fillets or something like that.
That's right. Or stinky chicken, as I know it. Yes.
Natural bait that's been thrown over the side of a 40-foot boat that's moored out there. But so, the boys need to rock from class to class, from experience to experience, and they need some commonality. Everything can't be different.
Do any of them say, though, "Sir, I have no space. I have no time for any extra stuff"?
Absolutely. I mean, as a housemaster, I'm working with 50-odd boys, and a quarter of them are year 12s, and they're the guys that are really, under the pump.
So what's your answer to them?
My answer is time management. That means get your week organised, get some study schedules done that allow you to realistically allocate your time. Mm-hmm. And that has to change fortnightly. You can't do one schedule that you keep for the year. It just doesn't work that way.
That's very interesting.
Also, in that time, and build in some relaxation. Yeah. Get away from school. And for me, it's fishing. And for a lot of boys, it actually is. I've been amazed how many boys at Scots actually are mad keen fishermen.
I'm not surprised.
There's heaps.
That's right. From my very early childhood. The thing that interests me, that you actually work with the competing demands on a boy's time, not against them. So you could be an empire builder. It's all about maths, boys.
No. Yeah. Well, that is true. And if I did say it was all about maths, that'd be probably great for our maths results. Yes. But it's not good for the boys and not good for the school. So yeah, look, all teachers are aware of the competing time needs a school such as Scots. Our co-curricular program, our sporting program, our academic program, all the different programs we run, we expect the boys to have their head in there somewhere. And when a boy leaves Scots, they're a balanced human being who's learnt to time manage.
What an amazing thing. I suppose you get on well with other teachers if they know that you're not a threat to them. You're actually embracing their subjects as well.
I think so. I mean, I'm big on that idea of metacognition, where you learn how to learn, and for everyone it's different. Like for you, for myself, it would be different. So it's really a journey of teaching the boys, or letting the boys come to some self-realisation of what actually works well for them and what doesn't work well.
Yes.
Throw it over the side, but keep the things that do work well. And, some boys get to the end of year 12 and still haven't figured that out. And they're the ones that'll hit their straps when they go to uni or TAFE or whatever they do. Other boys figure it out very early on and they look like superstars.
Yes.
But as I say to the boys, you don't want to necessarily be the guy that peaked at high school either. So
that's right.
So yeah, fishing has been a metaphor I've used the whole way through my teaching career.
But overarching that is planning and organisation.
Absolutely.
Which also ties in very much to fishing. I just don't go out and throw a line in anywhere.
Yes, and that's true too. Before a trip, if I'm chasing a species, I get all my gear together for that species, organise the rigs, you go and get the bait or go and catch bait. So yeah, there's a lot of pre-organisation.
And as you say, it might change in 2 weeks' time. So you're constantly urging your boys, keep revisiting your diaries, keep revisiting your timetable.
Absolutely, that's it. We have a system of tutors at Scots, so you'll have a housemaster, then a tutor, who's directly in charge of maybe a dozen or so boys. And the tutor, it's their responsibility to stay in touch with the boys and change things as required. So,
can you think of a boy where you've seen a transformation from someone who's not very well organised, no balance, and is just lost? What helped that boy change, reinvent himself?
I can think of actually plenty of boys
I'm sure.
in that who've gone through that realisation. I think with the way the system at Scots is, there are so many exemplars around. Like there's other boys that I can draw on. So if you're having issues, I can pull another boy in who maybe had the same issues 6 months ago, and then we can have a three-way conversation and go, right, what worked for you? This worked. And then the boy who's still having issues can take those things on board. Most boys, at some point in year 11, they step it up.
Okay.
My opinion of the average Aussie boy is they don't tend to peak in year 10, but they tend to just upward track, and usually somewhere in year 11 or early year 12,
wow,
they usually figure it out. So that's something that lots of boys I can think of have had that realisation occur.
Yeah.
Some boys, unfortunately, don't, and they're the ones by the end of year 12 are doubting themselves. But with Scots having such strong old boy connections, we often get boys who come back a year later and they've got into uni or whatever, or maybe possibly haven't got into the course they wanted because their results weren't as what they would hope. But they've got there and figured it out. So at some point, all boys, I believe, that come through Scots figure it out.
Yeah.
So, I've put two sons through here, and one figured it out while he was here and did really well. The other got to uni, and then it worked for him. But so look, it's different for every boy.
Yes.
Boys tend to peak later, I believe, in their academic disciplines. So that's something as a school we adjust to.
How do you find parents embracing this concept of balance? So if I'm a parent, I might say, Phil, I'm not paying these fees for this kid to go fishing.
Yeah. Well, we do actually take the boys fishing in year 10.
Good.
In year 9, we take them on a couple of fishing hikes.
Fantastic.
And we gather our results for our year 10 data. We go bass fishing, funnily enough, down at Glengarry.
Yeah.
But look, parents obviously want results, and at a school like Scots, they expect the results. The journey is one that the parents are on with the teachers and the boys. Some parents are more trusting than others, and they'll go, right, we get that you...
We trust you.
We trust you. We get that you're doing the right thing. Other parents obviously just are not quite as trusting. But generally speaking, most parents by the end of the journey to year 12, by year 11, most parents have basically agreed that it's their son that's doing the HSC, not them.
Yes.
And irrespective of how good they were when they were doing their HSC, their son's different and he's got different strengths and weaknesses, and they basically give us the space to work with the boys.
There's wisdom in that.
Yeah.
Now, you've come up with an interesting and I think potentially powerful concept of cold starts. That's what you call them, which is a rather unique learning technique. Explain how it works, Phil.
Well, cold starts was something I came up with because I did maths at uni, and it was a lot of proof-based work and heavy calculus. And at the time I was at uni, I was working at Grace Brothers in the Manchester department in the city store.
Yeah, good.
And so after about 7:30, it got pretty quiet.
Yes.
So before I went to work on a Friday and a Saturday, I'd just write out maths questions on blank pieces of paper, scramble them, and then when things got quiet, I'd pull them out and just do them cold. So no reading of notes.
Okay,
Just
yes.
basically put myself in an exam scenario.
Yes, that's what it's like.
Which is what it was like.
Yeah.
And then if I got them out, I knew I really knew that work. If I didn't, I'd put it to one side and then go back and check and then do another cold start. So I guess it was trying to be realistic. The course I did was not assignment-based at all, and I did have to do things pretty much with no framework around me. So I found that worked really well for me.
So what do you tell the boys? I mean, in practice, how's that going to work for them?
Well, for them, like my year 11s at the moment, we're doing a pretty full-on topic of trigonometry, Extension 1 trigonometry. There's possibly 20-odd different formulas that they have to apply. So we, as a class, have derived all our formulas. We've gone through all the normal example types. We've done all the exercises where we knew what the question was going to be pretty much before we did it. So now, this week, we've scrambled all the questions. So
Okay,
they're not in the order the work was taught. So we're putting ourselves into that awkward position where the question's going to come at you from all different directions, and I guess that's a cold start. So that technique I've talked to with my classes, particularly my senior classes, and it's something the boys are aware of.
What a gift.
So,
Well
yeah.
done. Final question, and a line from the unfathomable wisdom of Phil Atkinson. Here it is. Shortcuts are only for locals, and you're all tourists. Please explain.
Well, there's a few analogies on that one. Look, basically I say to the boys, there's a road up near Bellingen or on the north coast. It goes from the Pacific Highway and it gets you into Bellingen, and it's actually called Shortcut Road.
Okay.
But it's a windy road with
Yes.
lots of roads leading off it. And if you are a tourist and you take that road, generally you end up on the south bank of the Klang River, lost. Mind you, the Klang River is a sneaky fishing spot of mine.
Oh, yes.
So basically I tell the boys, look, the only local in the classrooms are myself. You're all tourists. So with your working, with your set out, as we say in maths, no shortcuts, show it all.
Yeah.
And then maybe at some day you'll be a local, but for now, no shortcuts.
Phil Atkinson, thanks so much indeed for joining us. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks, Lee.
If you'd like more information about growing your boy into a fine young man, you can subscribe to receive useful articles and news from the Scots College. It's free and offered to every parent who wants the very best for their boy in their journey to manhood. In your internet search engine, enter the Scots College e-newsletter to subscribe. I'm Lee Hatcher. Hope you'll join me again next week on Brave Hearts, Bold Minds, the Growing Fine Young Men podcast. Phil, time's up. Can you ring the bell for us?
Absolutely.
Here's
There's
the button.
Got it.